So ordered.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in support of my bipartisan bill, H.R. 3724, the Ensuring Integrity in the IRS Workforce Act. With tax day just behind us, most Americans have finished their tax returns. They filled out form after form, giving the IRS some of the most sensitive information possible, including their Social Security numbers, their birth dates, wage data, and more. In 2014, the Inspector General for the IRS released a report that raised questions about whose hands this information falls into once it arrives at the IRS. More specifically, an audit of the agency's hiring practices found that the IRS rehired hundreds of former employees who the IRS had previously fired because of conduct problems. And we're not talking about small infractions. The IRS rehired employees who had falsified documents, they failed to pay their own taxes, they accessed sensitive taxpayer information without permission. To think that someone could inappropriately access tax information, get fired for doing so, and then be rehired just a few months later is completely unacceptable. But it's happened, and it's happened more than once. These stories border on the absurd. One employee had been absent for leave, without leave, for a total of 8 weeks' worth of work. As a result, that employee was fired, and the words "do not rehire" were stamped on their personnel file. Still, the IRS rehired this person. IRS leadership has failed to acknowledge its mistakes or change its processes. Instead, they stuck their heads in the sand. According to the Inspector General, the IRS's response to the report was that it believed its current process was good enough. Well, I don't buy it. And if the IRS leadership thinks their current processes are protecting taxpayers, they need a reality check. The Ensuring Integrity in the IRS Workforce Act is a simple bipartisan fix to a serious problem. The bill does what the IRS bureaucracy in Washington won't. It stops the IRS from rehiring former employees who had been fired for cause. Now, my staff and I have met with numerous frontline IRS employees from South Dakota who are sincere and hardworking individuals. My bill is not aimed at them. This legislation is aimed at the IRS bureaucracy in Washington, and it's intended to address a very real problem that they have refused to fix. There's no reason that IRS leadership in Washington shouldn't be held to the same standard to which it holds you, the taxpayers. With this legislation, we can hold the IRS accountable to us and to hiring practices that ensure a high-quality workforce for the agency. Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to support this common sense bill, and I reserve the